Welcome to MMA Fancast. My name is Luke Payson. Welcome back for everyone who is already a subscriber to the show. If you're not already a subscriber to the MMA Fancast channel, please subscribe on YouTube so you can see more great interviews, including the one coming at you right now. Always an honor to have a first-time guest on the show. This first-time guest on the show is 9 days away from his next fight for 247 Fighting Championship going down March 14th at Sunny Days Arena at the venue at 247 MMA at the Venue 5. Very excited to have first time guest on the show, Evan Heaps. Welcome to the show, Evan.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. Evan, you actually fought for 247 once before. Your amateur MMA record is 1 win, 1 loss. You did pick up a decision loss when you fought back in November for 247, which was a big card. It was a great event. Obviously, the outcome might not have been exactly what you wanted, but what was the atmosphere like? What was the experience fighting for 247 back then in November?
It was a pretty great atmosphere. I fought in Mississippi before, and I have to say that 247 is definitely blows it out of the park compared to Mississippi. It feels really professional. A lot of fans, the cage, the lighting, everything is just it's pretty good. I like it a lot.
Well, the fact that, I mean, that's great that you see that for 247. I know that's what uh, Ryan Middleton, the owner, and Hunter Homistick, the GM, are aiming for 247 to be a great top end regional MMA promotion. That's why the 247 Live app, they actually have their own app on any of the app stores that you can download for pay-per-views and for the entire catalog of every MMA fight. But how did you fight in Mississippi? Were you from Mississippi? Were you trained in Mississippi? How did you get that fight, that your debut, which was a win? How did that fight come together?
I am not from Mississippi, but my coach has a friend that lives in Mississippi that owns a promotion. So my first fight, I got offered over last summer in May on 3 weeks' notice. I took that, trained really hard, got the win on that one, and that was that. That's where it all started.
Well, that is great. Now, before it started with your amateur MMA debut in MMA back last summer, what sports did you do growing up? Kind of what was your athletic career prior to getting in? You're young, so I don't know. Kind of how did this all come together before MMA, and then what got you into training MMA?
So I played baseball for about 9 years throughout my childhood. I used to live in Japan, and they play baseball pretty religiously. We used to practice for 8 hours on Saturday and Sunday. So
Yeah.
I do got that hardworking drive in me just from baseball. But getting into combat sports, me and my dad used to watch UFC quite a bit. So I thought one day I'd just give it a try. And then I got offered that fight and I started competing.
Well, that I mean, what a quick summary. I do know because the baseball classic, which is a team country team sport, is starting actually tomorrow. USA, or at least the first game USA has, is against Brazil. And 2 years ago, USA lost the championship to Japan. Do you remember that? Were you watching?
I don't really keep up with baseball anymore,
You
to be
know, you're
honest with
done.
you.
You're done. Baseball's done. Okay.
Not really anymore. I think it's fun to play, but it's rather boring to watch, in my opinion.
It
But
can
I do
be.
like to watch the World Series.
Oh, of course, of course. I'm a Phillies fan, and so I start. Although this makes me sound like a bandwagon, but I've been a Phillies fan my whole life. But I now just start watching them in the postseason. Unfortunately, they're good at getting eliminated in the first or second round, so it's not always super exciting. But it is a testament of how much like the country of Japan and Japanese people love baseball. They were able to beat the USA team. Hopefully, that doesn't happen this year. Hopefully, USA gets it, but it is kind of, baseball is a sport that was created and invented in the United States. So it's kind of, America's pastime, all that. But I have
Mhm.
to say, it is kind of fun to know that there's so many other countries, Brazil, Japan, where baseball's big and exciting.
Right.
But what have you enjoyed about MMA? Your journey to MMA kind of came together quickly when you consider taking your first MMA fight on 3 weeks. Notice now you've had your second. Kind of what do you enjoy about MMA and how has it been training for you at 724 Fighting and Fitness? How did you start training there and what's training like for you at that gym?
So basically, I went to school with one of my friends named Odin, and he was a boxer. And I trained at this gym in Clemson. And just one day he invited me over. He was like, "Yo, come spar with me and my coach." And then I started with this coach, and this coach asked me if I want to take a fight. I was like, yeah, I'll take a fight. And then I basically just started training with them. And the training is a whole lot of, just high intensity, high cardio, drilling, a lot of repetition, just making sure we get all the fundamentals down. And it's pretty much, we just spam that all the time,
All the time. Well,
all the time.
I'm always honored. I know you fought for 2 for 7 back in November. Anytime we can see a new gym, 724 Fighting and Fitness hasn't had a lot of fighters at 247, but it's always great when there's new gyms represented, new fighters represented. What are your thoughts on taking on Hunter Marks? You guys have identical records, 1-1, 1-1. It's a great matchup on paper, but it's also a great matchup when the fight happens because one of you is going to kind of edge ahead in the amateur, and one's going to have a little bit more to work on to regroup. So, what are your thoughts on your opponent?
First and foremost, I would just like to say I appreciate Hunter for giving me the opportunity for my next fight. But I do know he is a wrestler, so that's going to be a good experience for me, no matter if I lose or win. I'm always down for that wrestling experience. I do think it's going to be a good fight, though. I think we're kind of the opposite a little bit, so I think it'll be, a good mix up right there. And, been putting in a lot of work for it, and very thankful that we get to see how it goes.
Well, that is a wonderful mindset. Always great that you're grateful for your opponent. I understand that sort of a higher level UFC. A lot of times they're sold as these grudge matches where everybody hates each other, but because it's an individual sport and because fighters have the ability to turn down fights, which does happen, I think it's good that you're grateful for your opponent at any level taking the fight because unlike a baseball team, getting back to baseball or football, when if it's on the schedule, you do it, right? As a team, you're
Right.
gonna play that team, you're gonna play that game, you're gonna play a schedule. MMA or fighting or whatever it is not like that at all. Every time it kind of resets. You don't have a schedule, you don't have a calendar, you've got to do it as you go. And if fighters decide not to fight you, you could be training, but you're not really, competing. So I think that's a great attitude to have. And a lot of the higher level fighters that we've had on the show, Colin Destar Worthy, who's had a bunch, and any of the pro level guys, Justin the General Patton, all those guys, I think have maintained that gratitude. Sure, they want to beat him. Sure, there's a little bit of that. Who's going to be better on that night, putting on a show? But this fight game doesn't happen without that opponent and the training that they have. So great attitude to have. I've had Hunter on the show just a couple of days ago. It's always fun when I can interview both sides of the same fight because both fighters train really hard and come in with game plans and come in with mindsets. He did mention being a college wrestler at Teal. He didn't really go into a lot of detail. I'm not sure how long that was, but Western Pennsylvania is always filled with great wrestlers.
Right.
What is something you enjoy? Are you more of a striker, a longer, taller guy like to strike?
I think I have an average build. I do enjoy striking more, but I'm definitely, really getting into grappling. I've been enjoying that a lot recently. So I'm really just trying to expand my horizon on both ends and really just become really well developed. So I would say I enjoy striking more though.
Well, that mindset that you have while you enjoy striking, which is wonderful, that'll get improve. It takes a while to kind of get the timing, and every fight is slightly different with striking, really all aspects, but definitely striking. Um, but it's also great that you say that you want to be well rounded. That's such a mindset to have. Obviously, your coaches and trainers at your gym have that mindset to constantly be training all aspects and all areas and develop. What has been one of the more enjoyable aspects of learning MMA, even if it was before your first fight, anytime in your career so far? What has been kind of something that you just love to learn? For some people, it's that rear naked choke for the first time where they're like, oh my goodness, this works. You know what I mean? Or whatever it was. But what's something that stands out as being very enjoyable for you to learn?
I think it's really just the movement with the striking. It's kind of just like dancing. You get to flow around and it's kind of like therapeutic, you know? If you don't have good feet, then you're not gonna have good hands. And, you just kind of get to go out there, dance and be flowy. I think it's pretty cool.
It is. And, maybe you're not exactly like Sugar Sean O'Malley, but he obviously brought, and obviously movement is very important. Like you mentioned, that's the difference between somebody, there's nothing wrong with staying in front of a heavy bag and just punching it for like a workout. But if you're a fighter, you've got to move. You got to move around that
Right.
heavy bag the whole time because That's one downside of heavy bag punching is you can get rooted. And as you pointed out, at any weight, movement is important. Obviously, at heavyweight,
Mhm.
movement's not doesn't happen quite as much, but it's still important. At lighter weights, it happens a lot more. And footwork. If you're not a big Sugar Sean, I'm going back earlier, but Dominic Cruz had incredible footwork.
He
That
did.
was just really flowy, but also very dynamic. Are you comfortable kind of moving into switch or in and out of different stances?
I'm pretty comfortable moving in and out of switch.
That's sweet.
So yeah.
And I often
Okay.
have said, even in kickboxing, not to mention MMA, but anytime kicks are allowed, that is more likely that you get in a switch stance because if you miss a kick or if a kick comes down or whatever, you're moving your feet, which means you're going to get. And a lot of times, kind of the old boxing mindset was you always just reset to your primary. But I think MMA, kickboxing, Muay Thai, any aspect of kind of a flow uh, martial arts, being comfortable in multiple stances is important because it shortens down that reset time. Instead of resetting your leg, you can be aggressive from another angle. It can be really cool.
Absolutely.
Are you the type of fighter that wants to make a prediction on your upcoming fight against Hunter? And if not, what is something, if you're not going to make a prediction, which is fine, what is something that you think the fans can look forward to seeing when you and Hunter throw down March 14th?
I don't really do predictions, but the fans can always expect a good fight. I have really great cardio. That's always been one of my strong suits. So I do expect to go the three rounds. So can expect a pretty good war.
Well, I like the fact that that's great. That's great. I like the fact that you emphasize cardio. You've gone to decision before. Obviously, if you go to decision again, you're going to want the win, but it's very important to have the cardio so that so if you need to, you can go long, you can go into deep waters, you can win it in the third round, all those type things. Not to mention that as you advance in your amateur career, both you and Hunter hopefully have a good career down the road. Advanced amateur adds on more time. And so then your cardio becomes even more important. Instead of three
Right.
twos, it becomes three threes. Then if pro happens, it's 3-5. And cardio is that one thing that you can always control within the fight. So just an incredible mindset that you have. Always honored anytime I can have a first time guest on the show. My name is Luke Basin from MMA Fancast, but first time guest on the show, fighting out of 724 Fighting and Fitness. Evan Heaps. Evan, thanks so much. Can't wait to see you live in action for 247 Fighting Championships 247 MMA at the venue 5 March 14th at Sunny Days Arena at the venue. Thanks so much. Have a great one.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.